strength in China. I mean, what is more conspicuous than showing that you have a coffee cup that is Starbucks in China? Maybe you have to show that you have a lock-in coffee cup in order to be able to say, you know what, I am patriotic. I'm not caving to the man. This is not happening with Nike, as Sarah knows, but it is interesting to watch because Starbucks has been such... It's been such a great stock since Kevin Johnson started using the money from Nestle's to buy back stock. I think this is temporary pause, but it's worth watching that there's a competitor of note that's finally surfaced that really may threaten the Starbucks franchise to some degree. Lock in. Not lean in. That's related to Facebook.
Hey, Jim, the same Goldman note actually downgraded Yum, which you referenced, on also kind of valuation, but they also cited rising interest rates and the exposure among the franchisees and how that's not a good business model basically to be in when you have increasing concerns about credit and rates.
Yeah, I thought that was fatuous. I mean, we have seen the franchise model for Domino's do incredibly well. There's a nice piece about Domino's. I mean, I think that when they did their piece, which just basically said it's up too much, I don't know, the numbers have been extraordinary for Yum. I'm going to go against that and just say, listen, I think the stock is fine because the company's firing on all cylinders. So I'm not so worried about Yum. But the Starbucks downgrade is troublesome because it's troubling. And the reason is because the stock's been straight up. And I've been waiting for some profit taking to be able to say, you know what? This thing is ready to buy. This downgrade is the first time I got worried about China. I've been very sanguine about China and the Jack Ma delivery relationship. Maybe I've been too positive. I hope not.
Jim, as we count down to the opening bell, we're going to get it in 30, 40 seconds from now. Anything you're watching? Any key to this market for trading today?
Well, I am watching Tilray, and I'm watching Tilray just because the pot stocks, David, we all knew that there was a lockup expiration for Tilray. You remember that wild trader? The borrowing cost is 900%. They said, listen, we're not going to sell you in the lockup expiration. David, I predict a short squeeze of monster proportions.
Interesting. And here it is, the opening bell for this Friday. You can see the lower open from the futures activity, and the S&P 500 real-time exchange at HQ will probably reflect that. Here at the big board, the United States Energy Association. Over at the NASDAQ, Willis Towers Watson, that's an insurance broker, risk management, and advisory company. Ms. Eisen, what are you keeping a close eye on this morning?
Well, just opening trade, GM is going to be a big winner. Phil LeBeau brought us that news at the top of the hour. Upbeat profit outlook, talking about Cadillac, going to be their electric vehicle. More comments from Mary Barra, from Phil LeBeau throughout the day. I'm just looking at the repair that has been done in this market, basically since Christmas Eve, which was really the low point in sentiment and overall markets. And really, it's across the board. And two fundamental changes have improved sentiment. That is increasing optimism about U.S.-China trade talks, which continues, and the complete tone shift from the Federal Reserve, which we heard again from Powell. MSCI World Index is now the highest in more than 4 weeks. The dollar's been cooling off for the last 4 weeks. Oil hit almost $53 a barrel. The Chinese currency is actually set for its best week since 2005. Put all these pieces together, David, and you see why the U.S. stock market has recovered more than 10% off its lows. It's a much better feeling out there. You get CPI data Jim referenced earlier, like today, which shows that we don't have an inflation problem, even though we have a relatively healthy economy. It's not getting too hot out there. Powell's patient. I mean, they are doubling, tripling down on this word of patient.
They are.
It's easing a lot of concerns.
They are. Although yesterday, Jim, Powell changed his language yet again, it would seem, in terms of the balance sheet, or at least some people saying that. I'm not quite sure how you read it in his conversation with David Rubenstein.
Yeah, look, I mean, that caused the big downturn. It dropped about 8 points in the Dow. But in the end, I come back to this inflation number, and it is just very, very positive. Gasoline, oil, by the way, reversed this morning, and I think that's been a negative. That's been the negative whenever oil goes down, so we have to watch that. We get rig count. But I do think that oil remains in glut. I think gasoline is in serious glut. I think that oil could pull back a little. And, David, I did want to correct one thing. When you asked me the key to the market, I was focused on Tilray because it's going to be up so much. But I think that Netflix has got a bunch of people saying, listen, it's time. Buy it. And, David, Netflix is up huge. Why is it time now? Buy it. I'm not so sure that that's so great.
This thing has accreted almost a quarter of its market cap in the last whatever. What day is today? The 11th? I don't know how many trading days we've had. Not many. And now it's time? All right.
Now
I mean,
it's time.
it is the pure. It is such a momentum name, though, isn't it, Jim? Up is up, and then
Tesla
down.
and Netflix.
You know, yeah.
Since December
I don't know.
24,
People talk about
Netflix is up almost
good subscriber
40%.
growth. Yeah,
Yeah,
enough.
I mean, listen.
Enough. I mean, it's the UBS Evidence Lab, David. I know you like the Evidence Lab and follow it
I
closely.
do. I do.
CSI
I like my
Evidence Lab
evidence.
and UBS Evidence
Yeah.
Lab, they're both very strong.
No. Coming soon to CBS as well is the UBS Evidence Lab. It's going to be a new, that's going to be must viewing.
How's CBS doing, David, in terms of the structure, the status there?
You
Anything new?
speak about stocks that are up. CBS and both Viacom have been up sharply. This on these continuing reports. And I talk, how many months have I been saying that they were going to likely try once again? They haven't yet. Nobody's reached out to anybody yet specifically, but there is this expectation that they are going to obviously give it another shot, Jim. And to your point, both those stocks have been up. I guess the NFL on CBS has been doing pretty well too.
Yeah, I mean the only SEC that's open, by the way, is the SEC on CBS, and I do feel that CBS is one of those properties that seems like could it be undervalued because the NFL is so strong this year. I mean, that is the bright spot in TV, and I've got to tell you, it's a very bright spot. And I think this weekend's going to be big.
You're going to have people already saying, well, how much are they going to have to pay for the rights to keep them? Even though it's a few years down the road, you want to sort of have an understanding of that. And do they need more scale in order to actually compete with the likes of, if it comes to it, an Amazon or an Apple or any of the other potential entrants when that NFL contract comes up?
Yeah, very good point. I keep thinking that Alphabet's going to do something, but Alphabet, they barely ever show a pulse. Or maybe they have a pulse and they just don't talk about it. They have so much cash. When are they going to do something?
I don't know.
Strange.
That's a good question.
Strange. We're thinking about it. But Netflix, David, what can I say? I mean, there's 4 different notes talking about how strong domestic numbers are going to be. Amazon,
Right.
by the way, there's a note about how domestic's going to be strong. I saw today, but international's a little bit weak. But FANG remains a bright spot at a time when we kind of had buried FANG.
Right.
One bright spot in today's action in the S&P, consumer staples. Actually, and P&G's leading that charge, Jim, which I know you've been a fan of some of the changes going on
Oh,
in
I
Cincinnati.
sure have.
It's a winner today, and Evercore initiates with a 105 target and a buy.
You know what? Also, I've got to tell you something, Sarah. I'm glad we're talking about this. Kroger has gone all in with Salesforce. Kroger, by the way, 3rd biggest retailer in the
that in your
country.
interview.
And I think that I know that you have been you've watched the transformation of Kroger. Obviously, Procter's gotten much more aggressive. Unilever seems a little bit of sunset there. The Cincinnati companies are doing better than the baseball and football teams.
Yeah, I'm actually excited. I've got Rodney McMullen speaking at the National Retail Federation annual meeting this weekend. We're going to talk about the shift that's going on there. Ever since Amazon got into the space, Jim, at Whole Foods, everyone was worried about Kroger. Guess what? It lit a fire under Kroger and led them to make all of these deals with Ocado, a warehouse chain in the UK, with Salesforce, which you guys were talking about in your CEO interview last night, really beefing up the digital grocery presence, the click and collect, and also actual delivery. And nobody's won that war yet. I mean, Amazon Whole Foods is nowhere near winning because the consumer's not there yet. So when the consumer goes there, I think Kroger is going to be a major player along with Walmart and Amazon. It's sort of this 3-way race right now. And by the way, P&G Walmart is another gainer right now in the Dow.
Yeah, look, these are stocks that tend to reflect a slowing of the economy or the fact that maybe there is no trade deal. Boy, is this hard to figure out. There's tremendous obscurity about what's really going on, but I do think that the idea that Kroger, which I thought dragging its heels, trying to bring someone outside, the fact that they're going inside, the fact that the last numbers weren't that good, the fact that Kroger stock doesn't come down, tells me the digitization is really starting to broaden everywhere. So it's worth following. I'm glad you're going to be pulling up with them.
Did want to share a little bit of news on Caesars Entertainment, the gaming company formerly known as Harrah's quite a few years ago at this point. Carl Icahn, the noted activist investor, according to numerous sources who are usually quite familiar with his moves, tell me he has been building a stake in Caesars. And you can see from the volume in the stock and the way it's moved up lately that very well may be the case. Now, it's unclear how large that stake is. Mr. Icahn has not returned my calls to offer me comment on this. But it is worth noting in part because, of course, you may recall a number of months ago reporting that we had, and others had as well, on the interest of Tillman Fertitta and an offer that he had made at the time to Caesars. It was a somewhat audacious potential bid he was proposing. About $13 a share at the time was his opening offer, and then would have been followed with a Dutch tender for roughly 30%.